Very pleasant good evening and greetings and welcome to another edition of Full Disclosure here on Tobago Updates. And we are thankful that we have been afforded yet another opportunity to use this platform, use this medium to share with you information that we believe is pertinent, to have a conversation with you about what's happening on the political landscape, what's happening on the governance landscape, what's happening in Tobago. Some months ago, we started on the theme, the Blue Battle, and we've had several programs relating to that and so on. And, I have been out for a few sessions, and we have the program has been ably run and held by Mr. James and others, and we are thankful for their input. We want to continue tonight. Tonight our theme is the budget and its impact on the Blue Battle. We want to talk about that. If we want to find out if there is any correlation between what has emerged from the budget and on this outright war that has been declared against us here in Tobago, declared against the administration, declared against the people of Tobago, as a matter of fact. Guessing with me tonight is no stranger to these particular type of discussions, is no stranger to Tobago Updates, no stranger to the media in Tobago, the media in this country for that matter, is the venerable Ashworth Jack is on set with us here tonight. Mr. Jack is a man that has a wealth of experience and knowledge in the matters relating to Tobago, the governance of Tobago, the politics of Tobago, the economy of Tobago. And he has, I am sure, been around for many a budget and has spoken on a few as well. And I thought it was prudent for us to have a conversation tonight. Mr. Jack, welcome to Full Disclosure, and we are very happy that you could find some time out of your busy schedule. Oh, I should say that he is also the chairman of SPEL. That is the Studley Park Enterprise Limited. Studley Park Enterprise Limited. So welcome to the program, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Secretary Baines, and it's a pleasure being here. I hope that we can shed some light, look at the budget in a kind of dissect it in a different way, because one of the things I'm concerned about is that people continue to look at the budget as a crunching of numbers, and the budget is more than crunching of numbers.
Okay.
The numbers is used to deal with something, to support something. And so one of the things that I want people to, I'm hoping that we can be able to look at, is how the budget supports policy, the numbers supports policy.
Right.
And what is the expectation of policy and in terms of what the numbers that you have. And then look at how that will then translate into development.
Right. Well, before we jump in and get all budgetary, we want to just have a conversation about some of the things that are happening in space currently. A series of events has been taking place in the Tobago space in the last 3-4 months. From national security perspective, we've had some governmental things. We've had some ministers doing something. All kinds of stuff. We've had things that we have not. I can't remember if we have ever experienced this barrage of activities that has had such a negative impact on the people of Tobago, the life of Tobago, and so on. And in the last couple of days, there is a concern now with what is happening at the Registrar General office here in Tobago. It seems as if there's been a shall we say, a move by the authority in Trinidad to move who was I guess the most senior officer here in Tobago and perhaps second in command in that whole setup, a fantastic worker, somebody that I have personally dealt with and has done the Tobago public well in terms of executing of duty. That entire office, we know from yesteryear the kind of challenges with timelines and stuff in getting birth certificates and death certificates and those kinds of things. And there's been a level of professionalism and efficiency that has emerged in more recent times under the leadership of that particular officer. So I know you have been following this thing, and maybe a lot of people in the public may not, but tell us about what has happened, Mr. Jack, as far as you've seen, and the impact of that on the.
It's interesting that
yes.
Just yesterday I had a call about this, because I myself had cause to use the services of the Registrar General's Department in the last couple of months.
Right.
And I was pleasantly surprised as to the efficiency and the speed with which stuff was dealt with. And so someone who knew that I complimented them on their efficiency and the ease of doing business would have given me a call and said, we have a problem. I said, I didn't. And so they explained. And I think in your opening statement, you were correct. Apparently, there's an attempt to move the person who is in charge of the office and replace them with a junior officer out of Trinidad. Apparently, the person is not happy about it, and I don't know if they refuse to be transferred to Trinidad or something like that. And so both people are in the office.
Right.
And
okay.
what has happened is that the office in Trinidad, the headquarters, have then now taken upon themselves to lock out everybody from Tobago, from the system. And therefore, you cannot register births or deaths in Scarborough. I think there's another office in Roxborough, a smaller office at the hospital. But I think that you might have to journey there. I'm hoping that is so. Other than that, no births and deaths. So you can't get your death certificate to bury. You can't get birth certificate, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I like to be fair. I like to be very fair. I listened to the representative for Tobago East as part of her presentation to the budget today. And she too did express some concerns. And what I found was interesting is that she spoke about punishing people for other people's.
Right.
So it's almost like, listen, let me stop punishing each other. So, and I think that it showed a level of maturity that I find commendable.
Right.
And so I want to just say to that, and that's why I start speaking about the budget as a policy statement. It's your biggest policy statement for any year.
Right.
But your policy also drives the development. And if there's a policy that says, I'm starving Tobago for these simple things,
right,
then you understand how that affects everything else.
Yeah. But the thing I'm trying to reconcile, if in fact that is one of the tools that is used in this battle, this just emerges.
And that is why I talk about policy.
Right. It emerges though at this time.
I think that people think that nothing happened by chance. And to lock out everybody in Tobago from the system, or everybody in the Scarborough office from the system, that is not a decision that any little person can take.
Indeed.
Right?
And of course.
And even if they did, by the time it gets to whether it be the senior or to the Attorney General's office, somebody will say, hey, you don't have the authority to do that.
Right. But I'm thinking as well, the impact of this is not just the people that have a different political persuasion to what they can base in Port of Spain.
And you see, that's the problem. People don't understand that it's like you come from a man of the cloth.
Yeah.
When the sun shines, you shine on the just and the unjust.
Of course.
So Tobago, everything that happens in Tobago, when people think that one set of people will suffer from it, it paints a wide we have broad brush, so everyone suffers. But there are some people who are willing to take the suffering with a smile because they think it makes someone else look bad.
Right.
But at the end of it, everyone suffers. Because if you have a dead you can't bury because you can't get a dead, or if you're a child, or you have to hustle. Sometimes you have to hustle to the country. You need a new birth certificate.
But then the other thing too, Mr. Jack, is I am trying to, what is the rationale? I mean, apart from just straightforward bad mind and trying to continue to make life for Tobagonians hard.
What is the rationale for the licensing department to bypass the Tobago House of Assembly when the Act number 40 of 1996 clearly tells you who has responsibility for licensing in Tobago? What's the rationale for that? And then you come into the THA, a building that the THA owns, and say, I'm really not talking to your leaders. But you see, it's a pattern. And when you look at it, there's a pattern that says, I am going to put you in your place.
Yes.
You know, but this is nothing new. For people who know the history of Tobago, and if we go back to 76, 77, when Tobago voted against the government, shut down everything, 10 people in trial. So there's a pattern. And you see the pattern. This is not just a pattern that deals on the surface. It seems to be in the DNA of the organization. And so even though if it's 40-something years down the road, you see the same modus operandi, right? So it's a part of the DNA.
Okay.
And so Tobagonians have to understand that with these things like these, it transcends the political organization to which you belong in Tobago. It suffers everyone in Tobago as a result of some of these decisions.
You know, another question I wanted to ask in terms of what is your sense of the pulse of the average Tobagonian as it relates to recent events? You know, we are not known for being disruptive. We are not known for protests and burning of tires and blocking road and that kind of thing.
But we know in fact, action.
In fact, what I was saying is that the manifestation of our protest is to continue to do the work that we've been hired to do. Despite all these challenges and these obstructions that are coming, we continue to do the work and so on. What I'm asking is, seems to me that what we're trying to accomplish, we need the entire Tobago to support this whole thing. What is your sense of the temperature of the average Tobagonian in the space of the average Tobagonian in light of all that has happened?
I'm glad you asked that question. And I like the idea of full disclosure, being able to discuss things without fear or favor.
Yes.
I think one of the things that I have heard from people is that there's not enough information being disseminated to them. So a small group of people take all the licks and they don't explain to people. When in our kind of politics, it has to be a politics of education. People have to understand how this works, why this can't work like this, why that can't work like that. Other than that, people can say, all in charge of the THA, and why you can't get this done. And they don't even understand that some of these things don't even fall under the THA.
Right.
You know, but as far as they're concerned, hey, it's the Tobago House of Assembly. And so one of the things that the administration have to do is to use its public relations departments to explain to Tobagonians their responsibility. What is the 5th schedule? What is the 6th schedule? What is the 7th schedule? Why they are the way they are? Why the office of the residence of the president is left to decay. And when people say, well, the THA ain't fixing that, they don't understand that the law says that the only 2 buildings that does not fall under the Tobago House Assembly is the residence of the Prime Minister and the residence of the President. But they have seen a spanking new residence for the Prime Minister and a decay of the residence of the President. And so people have to understand that those things are not the responsibility of the Tobago House of Assembly. And there are a number of other things like that. For example, there is also the issue of licensing. And the law says that a minister can divulge responsibility for licensing. So in this case, the Tobago House of Assembly could be made to do license, let's say, for the blasting license and things like those, the export license. Those could be done in Tobago.
Right.
So, and that's why I started off talking about policy. And policy being the thing that drives, and the numbers only represents policy. So you could create a situation where some of the things that we see as hardship in Tobago today could be done at a one-stop shop right here in Tobago as a result of a MOU with the Tobago House of Assembly.
Yeah.
But it's a power play that says, no. I keeping this down the road, come down the road, I could manage.
And you know, as you're saying there, you think about when you have the same organization in the both places, and whether or not, how come an agenda like that was never been pushed, in terms of communicating with each other. That we want. Is it that the leaders did not have the constitution? They didn't have the push, the impetus for those things, or that they were so overwhelmed by their counterparts in Trinidad?
I think it's a mixture of both. And I think I'm being probably a little hard here.
Yeah.
Or maybe even facetious. I spent 16 years in the assembly. But I've been in the politics forever. And one of the things that I've discovered is that a lot of people who are in leadership position really doesn't know what they're entitled to at all.
Right. Which is a travesty.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, so you can be in office and not in power.
Yes, and I always said, I'm quite sure you hear me say already. You can have office, we just don't have any power.
Right.
And that is one. And then there's a don't want to rock the boat kind of behavior. That says, it's my party, so I don't want him to look bad.
Yeah.
But it's not a matter of looking bad. If you have that conversation behind the scene, then nobody will have to fight anybody.
That's right.
And let me give you a case in point, and maybe I'm tooting my own horn in this regard. When the issue of putting on additional flights later into the night was drawn to the attention of the government by me in 2012, it took us 2 days to get it done. This is something that they said we couldn't do for 50 years.
Right.
I was willing to carry this fight to its logical conclusion. But you didn't have to, because all it took was a phone call.
Right.
And they said, listen, let's talk. Spoke to the government in Tobago, and the government in Tobago said, yes, but who's going to be at the meeting? And say, Ashwajak, yes, and if Ashwajak coming, we ain't coming. And they said, well, no, whether you come or not, we're going to have the meeting. We did have the meeting on Thursday morning after I penned a letter the Tuesday morning. By the Thursday morning, the meeting was set up. After a 2.5-hour meeting, the decision was made. And when you're dealing with a partner in Trinidad, that is a kind of speed that you expect. Right? And so, but even so, there are things that you should not wait on goodwill for.
Right.
There are some things that should be yours as of right.
Right. Gotcha.
And so some of these things that we're talking about here, the licensings and stuff like that, I hope that in the new arrangement for autonomy, those things are looked at and placed squarely in the hands of Tobago. So that you don't have to wait on the relationship with someone in Trinidad in order to get them done. Because the more we see Tobago develop, or if we want Tobago to develop at a faster rate, these things must be available in Tobago, and they must be dealt with in a very quick manner. We can't. Somebody tell you for a year that you can't get a license. And other people get it. That kind of stuff. And somebody tells you, I am the Transport Commissioner of Trinidad and Tobago. Without taking into consideration that Act number 40 of 1996 gives the responsibility for licensing to the Tobago House of Assembly. But you are the overall person. But it says, hey, if I'm in charge of something in Tobago, you must be able to have a conversation with me. And I think that I have dealt with, I used to be at Works. That fell under Works. And we had extremely cordial relationships with the licensing offices in
so Mr. Jack, I mean, clearly, the the environment is there is hostility
It's
in the
toxic.
environment.
It's
It
toxic.
is, right? Before me I go that I don't remember. I saw, and I'm gonna ask, and we'll come back, but I'm gonna ask the guys in the control room to play these two clips of me. I wanted to get your thoughts on these things, to weigh in on some of the things. I listened to a clip from the representative for, well, she should be Tobago West, but one of her constituents told me Tobago South. You understand? Because of course, and there's an implication with that. But let me ask those my friends in the engine room there to play the first clip for us, and let's have a conversation.
Let me say plainly, if you're going to define Tobago by 6 miles, then you have to define Trinidad too. But we don't just get 6 miles and then everything else is Trinidad. If you're going to define, we need to define Tobago and define what is Trinidad also. You don't just get to define Tobago and then the rest is Trinidad. It doesn't work like that. That doesn't put us in an advantageous position. We are a sister island, not a child or a ward of Trinidad, and we want to be treated as a sister. We want parity, we want equal rights, and equal access to all resources,
And then we'll just have the conversation.
Tobago West MP Shampa Kajol Lewis holds the belief that governance of the island is not being managed effectively.
As you know, the leadership has changed in Tobago, and I must say that our people are suffering at the mercy of a hapless, hopeless bunch of miscreants.
Kajol Lewis informed the House that she consistently receives complaints from her constituents regarding the leadership of Chief Secretary Fali Augustine and his team.
It has been total chaos, and we in Tobago have been in the news for the wrong reasons over the last year.
Right. So let's deal with the first clip, which I wonder. I mean, there are some things that are convenient convenient speech for time. 2020, this was in and around the election time and so on. Perfect rhetoric, Tobago should be treated equally and all that kind of stuff. This is from the mouth of the MP for Tobago West. She's saying in essence the same thing that all of us have been saying, right, that Tobago must not be treated as some child or some stepchild in this case. A stepchild or some second-class citizen. Tobago must be treated equally. Tobago must also be the beneficiary equally of the resources of the country. Right. Well done. Well done, MP for Tobago West. Right? But in actuality, where we are now, right? Government has changed and so on, and her open statement is that Tobago is run by miscreants, and I took issue because I'm a part of government. So I said, first thing I did, I said, let me look up the word miscreants and see what it means in the dictionary first of all, because it's important for you to understand
your context.
Yeah, the word miscreant, a miscreant really is a vicious, depraved person, a villain, right? Okay. Now I say, let me look for some synonyms for a miscreant. A miscreant is a person that is corrupt, a person that is criminal, a person that is degenerate, depraved, a person that is nefarious, a person that is a rascal. These are some of the things. Now, the average Tobagoan, let us reflect on the leadership that we have had under Mr. Ansel Dennis and others in more recent times. I'm not even going back to Mr. London.
Okay.
I'm going by Mr. Dennis and them recently. Which officials in this country have been guilty of more rascality than this group? Which officials, based on the information that has come out, the kind of things them guys have been involved in? Where is the voice and was the voice of the Minister for Tobago West when it came into the public space that contractors, especially those that appear to be allied to that administration and that leadership, have been engaged in activities that were fraudulent according to the information that was in the public space. I asked myself, is it that the minister does not know the meaning of the word miscreant, or is it that the minister is suffering from an acute case of parliamentary amnesia? That is the only thing. What's your thoughts on these matters?
No, I saw that thing and I was like, whoa. And that's for a reason, because one of the things that we need to be very, very mindful of is the power of words.
Yes.
Right? I say to people all the time that the world could have been made anyhow. God, in his wisdom, could have used his hands and make the world. He could have done anything.
Right.
But to show the power of words, he called it into being. Said, let there be.
Right.
And there was. And when you hear people, some of the description that was used to describe the members of the present administration, it tells you that there's much more in the water beside the person. And I want to say, it is clear that the minister is auditioning for something.
Well, it has been.
No,
I didn't want to go there.
Right? No.
We know the minister is everything about she's the politics. We know that.
I think that. And when I look at it, and I looked at what happened in the last couple of months, I've come to conclude that the minister is auditioning to become chief secretary.
Okay.
Right?
You think that is her ambition?
I think that's the ambition.
Okay.
Right. It is a blind man with a board glasses. A pastor told me.
But I just think.
When you look at how members would describe, you will swear that Tobago is in this uproar.
But that is the point.
And everything is
in a
horrible place.
That is the point.
And
that is why I went and make sure and look up the meaning of the word. Because when I heard it myself, I said, nah, let me look at it. It's either she does not know the meaning of that word, or when she's in the parliament behind that little glass thing, that she have some parliamentary amnesia. It had to be.
Yeah, because we have lived through Tobago. We have seen how people have been treated. We have seen that if you didn't wear a certain color,
yes,
that you and your family have been blacklisted. So much so that there are people who have suffered that, even their children at schools.
Listen to me.
Because I can say that for a fact, because my children had some of those problems at schools because of my politics.
I have a document in my possession. The minister for Tobago South and I come from the same village.
Community. Right.
From the same community. They did a road in Sesame Street. I have a completion certificate, right? The contractor who is allied to them, to that group.
And have never made a secret of it.
Right. Received from the THA $15 million for that road. Right? $15 million. I know the road. I go around there and the auditors did their scientific testing and concluded that the road is valued at $1.3 million.
And
right?
These people are miscreants.
But not only that. The contractor that received that $15 million from the THA subcontract the work. So they didn't actually do the work. Right. Subcontract the work. I have in my possession the completion certificate from the subcontractor. Right? At a value of just under $500,000. Who is a miscreant minister for Tobago South? Who is a miscreant?
No, and that's the thing. The truth is a stubborn thing. It's a very stubborn thing. Because when people make some of these statements and you respond with facts, then people start to think, you didn't have to. But when you describe a fellow Tobagonian who has been elected to do the work, I haven't seen anybody being treated the way I've seen other people treated in the past. I haven't heard the outcry of dishonesty and that we have heard in the past. Yeah. And then you hear them and there were a whole slew of adjectives.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, no, but you see.
I remember when somebody had referred to the minister as bleaching.
Yeah.
There was an outcry. How you can say that?
Yes, I even remember Secretary in some one of the elections, somebody made a Facebook post about how the minister look and all that.
Right.
And Secretary Hackett came out in defense.
Yes.
You know, and I agreed with her because we just felt that it has some lines that you just
Right.
won't cross.
You just won't cross them.
You understand? Regardless of how, you know, we may have different political philosophies. But I realize that these days, these people have no boundaries. And they have no shame.
That to me is desperation.
Yeah.
When people are desperate, I mean, they say and do anything. And that was to me, when I saw that thing on the news, I was like, this is the level to which we have descended.
Yeah.
You know, it was not necessary. There's no facts to be able to say, well, look, these are the facts that I'm bringing to show that these people are miscreants. They are this, they are that.
Right.
You know, there's no supporting evidence.
Right.
There's no supporting evidence.
Right.
And
there has been rascality in Tobago.
Of course.
There has been rascality in Tobago,
But by who?
But certainly not with this present
By who?
administration. And the evidence has come to the fore and will continue coming that there's been some brigandry taking place with the purse of the THA. And you need to aim that gun in another direction. In another direction. All right, enough of that. Let's move on. So we have these numbers now, Mr. Jack. And I want us to start at the place of the DP provision.
how do we arrive at those figures?
Yes.
How do you arrive at them? And that, for me, that's one of the important things. And somebody can tell me the law says that Tobago must get 4.03. And the history of that is Act number 40 in 1996 said that if Tobago is not satisfied with its allocation, it can trigger the Dispute Resolution Commission, which was a new creature of Act number 40 of 1996. Prior to 1996, Tobago's allocation hovered around 1.2 to 2% of the national budget. I think Mr. Robinson, in his wisdom, said, let's find a way to deal with this. It was put in the Act. In 1997, Mr. Charles triggered the Dispute Resolution Commission. It went on for 3 years. The ruling was given in 2000. The first government to get the benefit of the Dispute Resolution Commission was the Orville London administration.
Yes.
Because the NER lost the election on 28th of January 2001.
Right.
And so the budget moved from around 373 million, I think it was, to 800 and something million, and then to 1 point something billion the next year. And so, but how did they arrive at that? Beside the 4.03 was arrived at as a percentage of the population, national population. But the THA Act goes further than that. Act number 40, section 43 says, in considering the estimates as submitted by the Chief Secretary, the Cabinet shall give due consideration to the financial and developmental needs of Tobago in the context of Trinidad and Tobago, and shall allocate financial resources to Tobago as fairly and as practicable. And in determining what is fair and practicable, the following considerations, among others, shall apply. Physical separation of Tobago by sea from Trinidad and Tobago's distinct identity.
Right.
Isolation from the principal national growth center. Absence of the multiplier effect of expenditure and investment, private and public, made in Trinidad. D. Restricted opportunities for employment and career fulfillment.
Right.
And we know about the brain drain.
Yes.
And the impracticability of participation by the residents of Tobago in the major educational, cultural, and sporting facilities located in Trinidad.
Right. Now,
yes.
Mr. Jack, when we need to take a break, and we come back right on that point to talk about the factors that should be considered when a budget is going to be done for the Tobago House of Assembly and the Tobago people. Viewers, will take a break. Stay right there. Share the live with somebody. You know, this is an interesting discussion. I'm sure it's going to be beneficial. We'll be back shortly.
Mount Pleasant Credit Union Back to School Loan Promotion. Loans up to $15,000. Requirements: job letter and a payslip no more than 1 month old. Utility bill, copy of book list, salary deduction, 10% down payment. For self-employed persons, evidence of income and expenditure, bank statement, 12 to 18 months. Other supporting document. Promotion ends October 18. Contact us at 639-8375 or 8108, or check us out on www.mpcutobago.com or email us at loan@mpcutobago.com. Mount Pleasant Credit Union's Back to School Loan Promotion.
25 years of real good dashing food, delicacies, and enjoyment. Well, it come around again as we celebrate 25 years of the Tobago Blue Food Festival. This year promises to entice your taste buds again on Sunday, October 15th at Bloody Bay from as early as 10 a.m. All are invited to the celebration filled with craft, games, but most importantly, blue food. This is a brunch-style celebration and will also see the likes of Super Blue, Nyla Blackman, Pretty, Gerard Balfour, Joe Archer, Keyshawn Jack, and Junior Calypso star, The Shay Saul, and more on Sunday, October 15th, 2023. Come celebrate 25 years of the Tobago Blue Food Festival.
Take your time and ride on the bike. Take your time and ride on the bike. Take your time and ride on the bike and ride on the bike and ride on the bike. She's loving the ambience of my. Somebody call the ambulance for this chick. I just long, I don't really quick. That's why she's loving me. Better when you done, you might walk with a stick. Meanwhile, you bend down, let me see you boom flick. Let me beat it up, drop life. I know you're loving me. When coming to I like the plenty. Sit on my riding like a Bentley. Fuller than need to empty. Take your time and ride on the bike. Take your time and ride on the bike and ride on the bike and ride on the bike. Ride on the bike, ride on the bike, ride on the bike, ride on the bike, ride on the 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 bike.
Viewers, welcome back. And for those of you who may now be joining us, this is Full Disclosure here on Tobago Updates in Tobago, Uptown, on third floor rather, of the Port Mall. And we are talking tonight with Mr. Ashwood Jack. We are looking at the budget and its impact on the blue battle that we are engaged in here in Tobago. And Mr. Jack was just reading what the rules say as it relates to how a budget is prepared for the Tobago House of Assembly, for the Tobago people. I want to ask you, Mr. Jack, if you could just go over that section so that our viewers and our listeners can understand what should be the point of reference in coming up with a budget for the Tobago.
Yeah, and I'm happy to do this because I think people need to understand, as I said earlier, the crunching of numbers is one thing, but the policy is what is important. And Section 43 of the Tobago House of Assembly Act says, in considering the estimates as submitted by the Chief Secretary, Cabinet shall give due consideration to the financial and developmental needs of Tobago in the context of Trinidad and Tobago, and shall allocate financial resources to Tobago as fairly and as practicable. And in determining what is fair and practical, the following considerations, among others, shall apply. A. Physical separation of Tobago by sea from Trinidad and Tobago distinct identity. B. Isolation from the principal national growth center. C. Absence of the multiplier effect of expenditure and investment, private and public, made in Trinidad. D. Restricted opportunity for employment and career fulfillment. And E. The impracticability of participation by residents of Tobago in the major educational, cultural, and sporting facilities located in Trinidad.
Right.
Now,
Right.
that being said, we have to look at, juxtapose that against other things. Yes, there's a 4.303, and we have to be careful of that. It's 4.03%. And that is why there's a range and not a fixed figure. Because all these things must be taken into consideration.
Right.
But every year, they give you a fixed figure, except for one time, I think it's in 2012 or 2011, somewhere around there, we got 5.5 or 5.6% of the budget when the People Partnership was in government. But when you take into consideration the number of Tobagonians who have to leave Tobago on an annual basis, and that's why it speaks about D, restricted opportunities for employment and career fulfillment. So you're saying if we put a lot more of these things in Tobago, then you will have to be having to leave Tobago to go to Trinidad to find employment. But I'm doing that also in another context. Let us look at, in between the year 2015 and 2023, the government borrowed to help in its development $150 billion, which are B.
Right, that is about just about 9 years. Just in 9 years.
8 years. 8 years.
8 years.
150 billion.
Right.
It also took from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund another 1.9 billion US dollars. So that's sort of another 13 or so billion. So 150 and 13, 163 billion dollars. And my question is, of this additional 163 billion dollars, how much of this was spent in Tobago?
Right.
And so, when you take into consideration what they said that you should look at in allocating resources to Tobago, you realize that Tobago has been woefully underfunded.
Yes.
If you look at taking out, let's say, for argument's sake, the government took out the 4%, let me say the 4% or the 4.03% of the 163 billion that they borrowed and said, okay, we borrowed this, Trinidad and Tobago borrowed this, Trinidad borrowed this, Trinidad and Tobago borrowed this. So we give in Tobago what we see, and we give them the bare minimum, 4.03. I mean, it should be more, but we said 4.03. Then you're talking about 4 and 2, 6, about $7 billion in Tobago have been injected in Tobago's development, in addition to the 4.03% of the budget in that same period, the 8-year period. Right? But what have we seen? We have seen that the year before the election, or the year of the election, between the two elections, about from what I heard, about $600 or $700 million was spent in development work in order to win an election. That's how I see it. And I am sure that they got the blessing from the government to try to spend this money.
But of course,
that if once you win the election, we're going to pay these bills. Now, remember, we already $7 billion short, right? But they spent this money. And then the governments change.
Yes.
And then there's a fight to pay a $1 billion debt or 1 point something billion dollar debt that you inherited.
Right.
So you inherit a 1 point something billion dollar debt. And then you also inherited a situation where the government allows the borrowing of $300 million, a maximum of $300 million for developmental purposes. And we're going to get back to that $300 billion. But by the time the administration took over, about 250 something million of the 300 was already borrowed.
Yes.
And so you have a debt that you also have to pay.
Yes.
You have to repay this debt.
Yes.
And so,
and with no support from the Ministry of
that's
Finance.
what I'm coming to. And the Ministry of Finance, understanding that Tobago have inherited this debt made by their organization.
Of course.
And I'm almost sure with their concurrence.
Of course.
And said, okay. And in the first, I think it's last year, there was a talk about giving $100 million to help with this debt.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it was said, tell them what to do with it.
And specifying
And
particular
how
contractors.
to spend it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But even if you pay $100 million, it means that you would have to cut back on them to pay even more. And I understand contractors saying, I want my money because I did the work. In some cases. In some cases, the work is questionable.
Right.
But isn't the anger misplaced?
Well, of course it is.
Because the anger is saying, I want my money from the THE. Cool.
But Mr. Jack, the voices that were flying the flag highest and displaying this anger, whether it was in the media or whatever, were some of those same individuals or entities that were engaged in some questionable work and all of that. That is the issue.
Well, you see, that's the thing. You have the information about that.
Yeah.
Because that is not public as yet. But I want to say to all of us, there should be a coming together of all those people who and the THA to say, let's go to the government and say, hey, is your people make this bill? And therefore, how do we pay this? Because if the Tobago House of Assembly, with a reduced development budget this year from 300 to 260, if you gave them every cent of the development budget and didn't do anything for the rest of the year, no development in Tobago at all.
Just paying bills.
Just paying bills alone. You have to take 5 years to pay it.
Yes.
By giving them every cent and let Tobago stand still for 5 years just to pay off the bill you have inherited.
Yes.
And so that it has to be looked at in that context. And so I understand the need. People need to get their money. But it has to be juxtaposed against the need of how much money you already have.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
And I heard somebody say, I think it was a minister said, they shall build, they had a choice to make. They could have either build Scarborough or build the stage in the sea. And I want to know what Scarborough would have looked like for the $2 million used for the stage. You know. Well, at the same time,
I mean, some of the rhetoric is nonsensical. It's politically nonsensical.
But at the same time, the government has spent more than $1 billion to do. It's building a Toko highway, a highway to Toko. They tried to point forth in billions of dollars, and all that, and car park in Trinidad. One car park.
It's
$160. $160 million.
Right.
$100 million less than the development for the whole of Tobago. And nobody is seeing that and saying, but if a car park could cost $160 million, which means you understand cost. You understand what's happening in terms of inflation and all that. How then can Tobago budget be reduced by $40 million?
Right.
And then it's not just 40. Not the development. Because I will not explain this so-called increase. It's not a real increase. It's artificial. But you decrease the development budget by $40 million. In that 260 million, remember you have to pay staff. So when the increase in salary, the 4% kicks in, then you have a 4% reduction. That's another 4 and 2 is 6, about $6.5 million decrease
Yeah.
over what the value could have bought
Okay.
a year ago.
Okay.
Right? And that's for salaries.
Right.
And then you take into consideration another 8 to 10% increase in the price of material. So then you're talking about another
Right.
10
So
and
the dollar value has changed radically.
Right? And yet you have a decrease.
Yes.
And then you have to take into consideration a number of other things. You're now talking about the increase in price of electricity because according to where you're working, you use that and stuff like that. So Tobago, in the truest sense of the word, the development budget, if you juxtapose it against what you got last year,
Yes.
the value of that would be about 240 something million compared to the 300 million you got.
Right.
Last year. Right? Take into consideration the deduction and the inflation rate and the 4% increase in salary. Now, explain to me, how do you develop an island? Because someone will say, well, you have 2 point something billion. That 2 point something is not yours to touch.
Right.
That is salaries, wages, stuff like that. Your NIS, all those things are in that. They've also taken into consideration the increase in the electricity bill that they have increased. You take into consideration that WASA will also increase the rate. You take into consideration the 4% increase in salaries, and then the back pay that goes with that. So that money, that so-called increase of 40 or 50 million dollars,
has nothing
to do with you. They are funding some decisions that they made.
Right.
Totally independent of you.
Right.
And so when that takes place, and people don't understand that, people just mount it. But how do we overcome that? How do we overcome that? At the same time that is happening, and I'm going to get controversial here. TATCO is saying to us, hey, we could become profitable. But in order to become profitable, there are some changes that have to be made.
Right.
We have inherited an organization that is unwieldy.
Right.
Because you took 4 organizations, put it into one.
Yes.
And so they are overlapping of functions and stuff like that. And that was done because the election was coming.
And bleeding the purse drive to us.
And so almost every month, $600-700 million from Wyoming have to come from somewhere to pay TATCO staff.
Yes.
No, TATCO have gone out and repaired the capital of paradise that was down for 5 years. For the cost of probably about $600,000 or $700,000, between that and $1 million. And they are now bringing in some money.
Yes.
But it is not enough.
To compensate.
To compensate. So the money have to come from somewhere.
Yes.
Is it that you're going to not pay electricity bill? Is that you're going to cut the salaries of workers? What are you going to do in order to get that? Is it that you're not going to buy goods and services, won't buy computer, won't buy toilet paper? Where is that money to come from? And I am hoping that very few people get displaced. But it was inevitable. You have 2 choices as far as TATCO is concerned, the way I see it. It's either you shut it down or you restructure it. You shut it down, everybody will lose.
Right.
It will become a petrol-train kind of situation.
Right.
And the people I'm hearing making noise about TATCO workers, and I feel for them. Are the same people I would hear saying, but the government had no choice, they had to close down petrol train. With 20 times the amount of employees.
Yeah, but you know it has selective outrage on sale in this place. It's on sale.
And it was displayed earlier.
Yeah.
And then when that is done, and I'm saying to people, when you set up a company, you expect it to make profit. That's why you set up a company.
Sure.
And then, so I am hoping that TATCO becomes so efficient that in terms of profitability and stuff like that, that there's additional money now that could be put back into the Tobago House of Assembly fund. That would then help to create additional employment in other areas. But it must be a mean and lean organization. 1. 2. Let's go to SPEL, on which I happen to be chairman.
Right.
SPEL is a mess. SPEL, I inherited SPEL. I could have cried, but SPEL has potential.
Yes.
Now, at the same time, I got there was no blasting license. no mining license, no export license. And I use those two companies because TATCO is using the fishing part of its operation to make foreign exchange. And so if there are additional, I think they want additional fleet. If there's additional vessels but to bump up the fleet, then you have a lot more foreign exchange coming in.
Yes.
At a time when you tell me the country don't have any. And then let's deal with spell. We have hundreds of millions of US dollars of inquiry for material. And it's not new. I met a lot of it there. But we had a very inefficient operation.
Right.
Very, very inefficient. Even now, we are spending a right amount of money to shut down the plants, do them totally, rehaul them, stuff like that, so that we can get to the optimum production based on the age of those plants, which are old plants. And therefore, in order for us to maximize the potential of Spell as a company, we'll have to inject another $50 or $60 million into buying new plants, new equipment.
Right.
But it's not that Spell looking for a loan or a handout from the THA. We're saying allow us to borrow that money. We could pay it back based on the potential contract, especially out of Trinidad and out of Guyana. Guyana, I mean, I should be in Guyana right now because there's a conference going.
I just came from there,
yeah,
actually.
that's some stuff.
Guyana is...
And
you see where Guyana passing.
when we see the development that is taking place, we know the need for a lot of our material.
Yes.
Because we have one of the best, we can boast of one of the best andesites in this part of the world. And so, when you allow, and that's why I talk about policy driving development. So when you have no money, or probably $2 million in our budget, for a company that could make $200 million US dollars in the next 2 years, it tells me that there's an effort to make Tobago not work.
Yeah, I mean, even the reference that was made about Scarborough Sec and the
and the Stagency
is offensive. It's offensive because
petty.
of the way they have treated this whole issue with Scarborough Sec during their tenure. You understand? But again, there are some things that just sound good because they're behind the glass, and it's your time to talk.
You know, I want to say this because it annoyed me and continues to annoy me. We met a loan, and I understand the company have to borrow. The loan have two components to it: a US dollar component, and
That is
a
at Spell.
at Spell,
Yes.
and a TT dollar component. The TT dollar component is about $6,000 US dollars per month. At Spell have not been able to pay the US dollar component of that loan for more than 2 years. And let me tell you why. Because FCB stopped giving Spell any US to pay the loan. So we don't have any US. And then tells us, even to get a credit card, that we have to have a no objection from the Minister of Finance in Trinidad to get a credit card. When a little boy walking the road with $1,000 in his pocket, have a credit card. And as much as we pointed out to them that there are two funds in Toronto, the Consolidated Fund and the Tobago House of Assembly Fund, and they are managed by two different people. The Consolidated Fund by the Minister of Finance, and the Tobago House of Assembly by the Secretary of Finance. They're still saying, yeah, we understand, but the minister have to give no objection to get a credit card. And what does that do for us, or doesn't do? A lot of the things that we have to purchase to keep that plant running have to be imported. And so we have to purchase stuff out of Trinidad by somebody who brings it into the country. And sometimes when you look at the markup, it's like 100, 200%. And so if we are allowed to do our thing, we are able to purchase directly. We are able to save a lot of money. But when I got into it, one of the things that I would have done is negotiated with China Railway, who do in the airport, to pay us 75% of everything that they want to buy from us in US dollars.
Okay.
So if we can't get on the front end, we have to take
Right. But I mean, all that, Mr. Jack, have to be a part of the battle. Every avenue, everything available apparently to the government in Trinidad. Every platform, every tool, every angle that they could use in this fight.
They're blocking
to,
us.
yes, to try and
They're being blocked
and
at
bring
every
down
angle.
bring down the government.
And there
and
is
all the-
no good reason for
Yes,
it. Because if this is Trinidad and Tobago, and Tobago does well, then Trinidad and Tobago does well.
Yeah, but it can't, that is not important to them. The fact that there's this, they have lost power and that kind of thing, and they figure, well, who is this group of young people to be standing up to the miscreants, standing up to the prime minister, standing up to the government, and all that kind
No,
of thing.
but I think people need to understand that you do not elect leaders to be jellyfish.
Right.
You elect leaders and you have to admire leadership that comes with some strength. And every time that Tobago has strong leaders, there's a outcry about how they're disrespectful, that that. It's almost as though you're saying to us, you're at Tobago, cool it.
Yes.
And there's this misconception that Tobago is a dependent child,
Yes.
which is not really so.
Indeed.
Right?
Indeed. Because that's another part of the rhetoric that you hear in
The oil and gas all the time.
Yes.
I'm hearing from Tobagonians.
Yes.
Can we really stand on our own? But we are pointing out ways that we can stand on our own. And yet we have been blocked.
Yes. Yeah.
And that is because it will take away that thing that they can use that say, look, you gotta come to us.
Yeah.
Where I live, I live on an elevated piece of land. And I can see the sea. So in the night like now, you see the flares burning.
Yeah.
Trinidad is down this way. The flares are burning straight ahead of me or up from me. How could that be off of Trinidad?
Yeah, well.
And when Mr. Robinson was saying that
Yeah.
all the years, people were saying, what are you talking about?
Right.
But now, it have gone glaring in that the biggest gas finds in the country are now on the other side of, so it's off of the Cassava part of your area.
Yeah.
And the estimated yield from that in the 34-year contract is about 3.4 to 3.5 trillion cubic meters. And I like to say trillion with a T. And we know that if we look at the papers today, we will see that the price of natural gas, a cubic meter of natural gas, is about it hovers between sometimes $5 to $8 a cubic meter. Take into consideration development costs and all that. And let's say over the 34 years, Tobago is a very well-behaved child and takes $1 per cubic meter of gas. It means that Tobago will end up with between $3.4 to $3.8 trillion in a 34-year period. Is that too much to ask from something that we own? But there is no discussion about revenue sharing as far as the energy is concerned. Are we to think that we will continue to get in Tobago 4.03 or whatever percentage determined by the parliament of 39 people from Trinidad and 2 from Tobago?
Well, you know,
and so all our thing, our children will see the tankers going down. They will see the gas going on in pipelines, and our people will continue to have to run to Trinidad. To do the same thing
you know, one of the things, and I know Secretary James, who has been one of the flag bearers of this concept, among others, that there certainly needs to be a revisiting of the relationship, this arrangement that we have, and because it has not been to our benefit and so on. I wanted to have your thoughts then. We have ventilated extensively the problem, the issues, the deficiencies and all that. Now, one of the things that is very acid about this government is that regardless of the challenges, we find a way to do the government work. We find a way. And I wonder sometimes if this ability to still get the work done is one of the things.
Working against you?
Yeah, that's I wonder if they say, well, you know, they go find a way, you know, because in the budget, I mean, the Minister of Finance say good luck, and we could.
I mean,
that is the sarcasm. Anybody could know, could have figured the sarcasm in that. You understand? But we have to get the work done. We have an island to govern, and we have to get the work done. What are your thoughts on us going forward with the resources that is available to us in terms of execution and so on?
I don't know if I agree with you that Tobago have gotten the work done.
Mm-hmm.
What Tobago have done is that Tobago have survived. There's a difference between surviving and thriving.
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, we can't thrive.
Right.
You understand?
And
but
what we need to do is to be able to thrive.
Yeah. Well, that is our goal. That is our goal, and that is our dream.
Thriving by equal treatment.
Yes.
And in this case, giving Tobago what it deserves, what it owns.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And Tobago can do a lot better when, and I'm not saying if, when Tobago is allowed, places like Studley Park and all the other areas that have potential to make money, takes that responsibility, because I'm not sure if we're going to be given it.
Yeah,
because
no one again,
right. And people tell me, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that because it's the law. And I had to remind somebody this morning that slavery was the law.
Yeah.
In fact, it was considered a disease to want to escape slavery. I can't remember the name of it, but there was if you want to escape slavery, it was considered that you had a disease. And so when you look at Tobago and you look at the potential for growth, and we cannot just play the proverbial ostrich, bury head in the sand and think nobody has seen us. No, we have to be able to make noise. And this is not about party. This is about Tobago, because when the rain falls,
well, that is one of the things that baffle me to this day, because when for instance, when the licensing officers were here, the people that were stranded for transport wasn't only TPP people, that PNN people and whatever. When the boat fiasco take place, people are suffering for goods and cheating with inflation and all that. Is not just TPP people alone.
It's everyone.
You understand? When there's an issue with flights on the air bridge, it's not just, people who need medical attention in Trinidad is not just TPP people or people or non-PNN people.
When TPP in office, TPP alone, people got sick.
Yes.
They alone want to travel.
Yes.
No.
So I mean, that is one thing that is maddening. But additionally, the people that support that seem to be is like a kind of opium, I have to say. You understand? Because you will think that there will be reasonable conversation.
I think some of it is fair. I think some of it is fair, because Tobago have developed a new culture of fear that we did not know when we were young, and fear of political power. When we were young, we knew that around election time, you had different ideologies, different organizations, but people still laughed and talked with each other.
Yes.
Now people hate each other if they don't belong to the same political organization.
Yeah, somebody says Stockholm syndrome, and that may be true. That may be true.
You've been a hostess for so long that you're telling them okay to be.
Yeah,
people openly tell you, I don't like Ashojak. Why?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I saw people treated with a certain kind of way up to 2001 coming down. And then when Hojoy sided with the PNM with a couple of things, then Hojoy became a hero.
Yeah.
And this was like, whoa.
Yeah.
But the same people.
Yeah.
And then when he decided to backtrack, he said,
yeah. But them fellas called Dr. Vanos James a vagrant and vilify him and all kind of thing.
No, he's a hero.
He's a PNM hero.
Best thing since sliced bread.
I'm telling you.
In fact, so much so that I remember when Fari was referring to it, or the chief secretary, I should say, was referring to it in the house when Kelvin was talking about doctor, and he said, and then they make it look as though the chief secretary is the one who was saying values that Vanos was a vagrant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's something
amazing,
else, right?
amazing.
But I think that to me, the important thing is we need to look at Tobago in a very holistic manner. And we need to give credit to people, and we need to hire people who can do jobs. And there's a new thing that I noticed in the THA. Every week, they want to know, what is this person pay?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
I never heard that in the THA before.
Yeah, but all that is part of the battle.
Of course,
it's part of the battle.
because they're saying to Tobagonians, this is too much money for all you. And look at other persons who are with Tobagonians or non-Tobagonians working in the space. They don't ever ask about the salary. So it is almost at the target Tobagonians.
Yes.
And I'm saying,
and I feel too that I feel, especially what go on in the house, those questions don't come from Scarborough or Marysill. Those questions come from Port of Spain.
Yeah,
you know? And it's all a part of this conspiracy.
They target a certain set of people.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, and all this investigation and harassing the administrators and administrators get all jumpy now and all that and don't want to sign this and don't want to sign it. All that is part of the battle.
These are the same people who was saying something come through the exec council. Because I saw a couple of exec council that says, for some of this development work, the executive council shall find the money.
Yes.
When they're supposed to say where the money come from.
Right.
And they said, we're signing this thing.
Yes. But I'm saying,
They were signing it.
Yeah.
And, so I'm saying to people, listen, if we continue to operate in fear cripples you.
Yeah, man.
Once you is operating in fear, you can't move forward.
Indeed.
You stay in this cocoon.
Yeah.
But Tobagonians have to make a decision. Where do we want to see Tobago 5 years from now? And we have to look at everything that we can do. And I'm saying this to you as a member of the administration. And then we also have to look at some of the things that we could cut and say, this ain't making sense.
Yes.
Stop this.
Yes. Yes.
Because for me, people will know that 20-something years ago, I proposed, and I've seen it come to fruition, the issue of the October Carnival. Carnival is a different time of the year. I fully agree with that. But then we don't need Carnival in February then.
Yeah, well, I know there is a conversation going on about that.
We don't need it. I'm in charge of Hatu Carnival.
Yeah.
We need to concentrate all the money we have on creating a festival that brings tangible returns to Tobago.
That is indigenous Tobago.
An argument in Trinidad, and I'm saying, but these people crazy.
Yeah.
Someone asks, how much profit did the Tobago Carnival make?
But
I want somebody to tell me one carnival since from 100 years, one carnival in Trinidad that made 1 cent profit. 1 cent.
No, well, again,
I'm saying that in the context of we can't let fear cripple us. Then the Tobago budget this year is just about the same thing as the Carnival budget.
Yeah.
But the whole of Tobago development budget is just about the Carnival budget in Trinidad.
Yeah.
But nobody's saying that.
Here's the next thing. There's this conversation too about trying to dictate from Port of Spain how the Tobago House of Assembly spends and it's the resource that comes to it. You understand? When it comes into the fund and into the coffers.
You know why there's a Tobago House of Assembly fund? That when it leaves Port of Spain, it's not your business.
Indeed.
Because nobody, who holds the assembly to account for the money that spends in Tobago is the assembly as a body sitting.
Right. And they have, I just say that, they have a oh gosh, what do you call that now? It's like, it's led by the minority leader. Where, yes, then that and where there can be scrutiny to the accounts and all that. But I never had a meeting once. He never had one meeting.
House committee.
Right, he never had one meeting.
But you see, there's another thing with that thing, right? I was in the assembly for long, and that house committee was never set up to work. In that, you have to fund that, that have to have a whole set of staff.
Okay.
The minority is not a finance person. You have to have there's a whole staff in Trinidad that deals with that.
Well, he seems to operate as if he's
knowledgeable. We know that. I mean,
anyway,
I like how you
right? Yes,
so,
yes,
but
it's called the Public Accounts Committee.
The Public Accounts Committee.
Thank you,
right?
Secretary
That
Akin.
whole thing
had
to be funded, but the assembly was never set up to have it funded, and they know that because for the 21 years they were in office, they avoided that issue of funding the Public Accounts Committee. So you can't have one rule when you're in, and another rule when you're out. You know, and
well, I know they're notorious for that.
No, but you see, that have to be pointed out to people all the time. Because there's a deceit and a deceptive kind of way that people operate.
Well, that is the truth. Listen to me, Mr. Jack. In this country, there are one set of rules for PNM people and another set of rules for everybody else. Whether they're in government or not. You understand? That there are PNM people who may be guilty of certain infractions in the public space, make the news, and only stay there for 1 day.
But not only that,
only stay there for 1 day.
You know, I looked at
1 day,
and
then the next man, months and months and months and months and months and months. And you have to say,
those petty things I really try to keep away from. But I want to say this. I saw that there was an incident. And what was fantastic about the incident, this incident is a political activist. Very generic statement. If that person was a TPP activist, they will tell you a activist of the TPP did so. And I say, whoa, look how we choose to do things when it's convenient to us.
Of course,
right?
of course.
And then some of the people who were the greatest beneficiaries of the last administration, because it is a fact that in some of the elections in the past, people were not even applying for housing grants. They were given.
That's true.
Secretaries was walking with housing grants for 10,000 and 15,000 until you come in. And you get housing grants.
Food cards, everything.
Don't talk about food cards.
You understand?
The secretaries have food cards in
so
every pocket.
when I hear them start to talk them kind of foolishness, they know, you understand, is sometimes make your pressure go up because, again, is the manifestation of what is this so-called set of rules for one group of people.
I'm not sure if I am worried about the scrutiny. Because the scrutiny means, hey, this group of people could walk out of here with their head held high. But it's the deceit. It's not the scrutiny I worry about. It's the deceit that says...
but I'm telling somebody guilty is men making the most noise. I'm telling you, I don't understand it.
But that's normal. You always try to show off people. Once you know that I am the culprit, I try to throw it off.
Well, that is called the lapwing. That's the lapwing technique. You understand?
You just
try to distract.
But for me, one of the things that concerns me as a Tobagonian who have chosen to live in Tobago, I live in Tobago by choice. I've been offered work outside of Tobago. I've been offered to live outside of Tobago for years. I am seeing more and more opportunities that are presenting themselves, but they've been blocked. And I'm saying, what is the reason for saying that Spell can't export?
But maybe
what is the reason for this? And how does that benefit us, right? And at the same time, let's look at tourism. A case in point. The budget for tourism this year was cut, I think for Titan and others. But yet, it just came out of COVID. And you know that you have to be a bigger injection. Tourism has a potential. Listen, I want to commend a lot of the young players in the tourism industry right now. I am seeing the rafting down at the Pigeon Point. I had the opportunity to go and look at the bioluminescence down at the lagoon. And there's so much to sell for Tobago. How do you sell it with what, about $8 million US? remember, selling Tobago in the international market
Yes.
is done in US dollars or pounds
Yeah,
or
yeah,
euros.
Yeah.
I think it's last year, Barbados tourism and marketing fund was about what, nearly 100 something million US.
Yeah. Well, I mean, clearly, Mr. Jack, we have to also concede that there never been any real concerted effort to develop a indigenous Tobago tourism product. We have to say that in any significant way.
That's it. That's the thing.
By the standards of
people
tourism
with
destination.
less than Tobago.
But that's the point. The point I was going to make.
There is an injection of capital.
But the point I was going to make too is that I believe that the those that were in power, because that is by design. It is by design, right? And that design also bred this dependency syndrome that we fighting with.
But that is the design.
Yes, right.
That is the end result.
Right.
It is to keep you one meal at a time.
Yes.
In your cupboard, not in your belly. In your cupboard.
Yes.
You know, you're supposed to have 1 meal at a time in your belly.
Yeah.
But the is 1 meal at a time in the cupboard.
Yes.
So that you always have to come cup in hand.
Sure.
And it is.
And that controls the whole. That controls the political landscape and all that kind of thing.
And you've seen it because every day somebody expects something.
Yes.
And the minute you can't give them, say, well, you know, I did vote for you, I did do this.
Yeah.
But they don't understand that there's not a finite amount of resources.
Right.
There's only so much you could do.
But that is the point.
And as it comes to that, the question is, if Chad could borrow $150 billion with a B over 8 years, why is Tobago shut down at $300 million?
Yeah.
Why cap Tobago?
Yeah.
And you have an open.
It's war.
How could you tell me that with all the things that needs to be done in Tobago, that Tobago could only borrow in this modern time? It was a couple of months, I think it's one of those companies in Trinidad that went to open a supermarket chain in the United States. And they were able to get what, 400 something million US dollars when we can't have US.
Mm-hmm.
So they could have gotten 400 something million US.
Right.
But Tobago could get 300 million TT.
Yeah.
And you can't go past that.
Yeah.
So now that the owes about 200 something million, if you had to borrow any, it's about 15 million. But your car park is 160.
Yeah.
So Tobago can build a car park.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
there's a car park to be built at Gardenside Street.
Right.
Would the government give Tobago $160 million? And if we're so not accustomed to money in Tobago, right? That if they were building the same size of car park at Gardenside Street that they're building in San Fernando, even our people will have an outcry.
Yeah.
$160 million car park, right?
Yeah.
But the same people didn't say that Shaw Park Cultural Complex cost nearly $1 billion and was locked up. Locked up. It's only when the administration changed that the usage of that went through the roof. And people now saying, hey, this place is nice. This is this. We can do this differently. But this place was closed up. But you're building a car park for 160.
Listen to man, we had to really thank God for the change of regime in this place called Tobago. No, seriously. I mean, because there is a sense of so much potential.
No, there is.
I just thankfully, was invited to a UNDP project at Shaw Park this afternoon, where the Chief Secretary had issued a challenge to them to pretty much put out this. It's almost like a competition for people to bring proposals. Mm-hmm. And some of the proposals, not some, all the proposals that were presented in that function today blew my mind. People in Tobago, young people in Tobago, innovation, in all kinds of different disciplines, bringing these things to the fore. And you say to yourself that as long as we can support these entities, as long as we can create the atmosphere, that we don't have to look outside of Tobago for the kind of Tobago that we were trying to build.
If you want, I look at Tobago in a certain kind of way. I've looked at Tobago's contribution to the national economy, Tobago's contribution to leadership, and all those things. And I am saying this out here, check almost every bold, brave leader. He has a Tobago root. They had to move out of Tobago. When you look at what Tobago parents, a lot of Tobago parents are doing with their children, Tobago have a disproportionately high number of medical doctors that came out of Tobago. That is not as a result of government. It's that in spite of government.
Right.
And so, when you see the number of them in a number of fields,
but they excel in every discipline.
Sustained on the island.
That's true.
Because there's not enough room.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And one of the things that, I went to a funeral today, and I was talking about a guy in Castara, and I had the opportunity to say a few words at it, because I know the gentleman very well. These are a man who was so passionate about Tobago's internal self-government in the 70s. He had to be ejected from the Parliament of John Tobago because he was shouting. Robinson was speaking.
Okay.
And the PNM wouldn't allow him to talk because the numbers. He was just shouting, "Hey, Williams! Hey, Williams!" As a member of the public gallery. And when he did get the Prime Minister's attention, what he said to him, I can't say on the television.
Some industrial language.
Yeah, very, very industrial. And not just normal industrial, at the highest order. Of course, the public gallery was cleared as a result of that.
Right.
And that's the power
yes.
of how the conviction of a Tobagonian was. Yes. And I'm hearing people, I'm looking at some of the stuff on the social media saying, and I've heard this all my life, can Tobago sustain itself? St. Kitts Nevis, put together.
Yeah.
It's smaller than Tobago.
Sure.
Barbados is about 16 square miles larger than Tobago. Grenada is about 17 or 18 square miles larger than Tobago. Our problem in Tobago is that we do not have the Jewish concept of spending. Our first spend, based on how the economy is set up, goes back to Trinidad. Whereas, if Tobago was an entity of itself, you had no choice but to buy stuff in Tobago. But you can
about 7 times before it
before it go, and the economy would have been a lot more buoyant. But because you can just jump on a plane, go to try to buy bricks, jump on a plane, even grocery, and that is because, and people don't understand, turnover is what just bring down price.
Yeah, Mr. Jack, we have 2 more minutes. I'm gonna give you 1.5, and I'm gonna take the next 1.5. Final thoughts.
My thing is this: the Tobago, the good luck. Let us take the good luck. And let us show them that we in Tobago are not mendicants.
Right.
We are neither mendicants, neither are we invalids.
Right.
And we can do a lot more. We Tobago could be a model, but you have to throw caution to the wind. You have to throw caution to the wind. And say to the administration, listen, fighting is not disrespect. It is the nature of human being. And so if we have to fight, then you fight.
Yes. Well, viewers, this has been a very interesting evening, and ventilating some of these matters as it relates to the finances, the impact of it, the intricacies of it, what does it mean? And we can see a direct correlation between the funding of this budget and it continues, and the war that has been raging, that has been waged against this new administration and against the people of Tobago for that matter. But we shall not bow. We shall not bow. We shall not cower. We will continue to forge ahead. Our response to this, our fight, our protest is that we will do what we have been elected to do to the best of our ability. We will become innovative. We will draw on all the resources that we have. We will draw on every skill that we have. This group of people that you have elected to run the government in Tobago. Our commitment to you is that we will continue so to do, using every ounce of strength and every ounce of ability and giftings that we have been endowed with by God. And where we cannot help, God will help us. So we thank you for joining us tonight for this program. And please share it with a friend and somebody else that you think this will benefit. This is Terence Bain saying good night on behalf of all of us here at Tobago Updates. This has been another edition of Full Disclosure. Take care. Be safe. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.